Hello! We're back in the study. Welcome to the study where these philosophical, profound broadcasts take place. The last couple of days we were in the Old Kirk, and some of you have got in touch to say that it was a wee bit difficult to hear me. That might be a good thing. Don't worry. If when I'm next back in the Old Kirk, and I will be, I'll shout. I'll project my voice. Just on that topic, I'm very conscious that the couple of times I've been at, 3 times now I think I've been in the Old Kirk, and although you don't see me because it's difficult to hold the camera and to do readings and stuff like that because I'm moving about. So one of the things I'm aware of when I'm in the church is I sound churchy. Don't you think? It's as if I've changed my voice and become much more Presbyterian. Hello, good morning. Churchy man here, in a churchy voice, in a kirk, wearing a tie. While when I'm in the study, well, I'm not wearing a tie. And I can be more myself. Maybe there's a thing about going into the church that like there's an aura that showers you when you go in, that envelops you and makes you into a different person, a more grown up, mature person. That's maybe a thought for me to contemplate. So, and right now, yes, here is the other thing you may have noticed. I've got no beard. Yeah. So because we can't get out to hairdressers and barbers, so all of our hair is much, much longer. And unless you're bald and you don't have any hair, which I am getting that way. But so at the end of this pandemic, we're not going to recognise one another because we're thinking, who's the person with the long hair? Yeah, that'll be everyone right across the board. So as well as growing my hair, which I don't really have any other option, I've decided to shave, but to stop shaving. This is an experiment for me because I haven't shaved today. I shaved yesterday, but I haven't shaved today. So maybe I'll end up like, watch this. Yeah, what do you think? Yeah, I could end up like that again. That was me back in the day. Oh, now here's the other thing. I am going to try and stop saying so, anyway, and what was I saying? I seem to say those things a lot. So, anyway, now what was I saying? I'm going to try and correct those mannerisms if I can. Well, I'm going to try. The other thing I was going to mention before we begin on our journey through Mark's Gospel, halfway through chapter 1, which we started eons ago. The other thing I was going to say is welcome to all my new viewers. Yeah. Super to have you on board. I mean, this is going out to all corners of the world, to the universe and beyond. I used to be a presenter in Keith Community Radio, and I used to say that this broadcast is reaching the ears of everyone in every continent, in every part of the world. That was a wee bit of an exaggeration. It probably only reached a certain part of the high street in Keith. I wonder if those recordings are still filed away in a cabinet somewhere that you can dip into. Or maybe not. Anyway, our journey... here's the other thing, and this is going to be the last thing I'm going to say. I am aware that quite a number of these broadcasts last about 20 minutes because I'm on a roll. Do you remember Ronnie Corbett from the Two Ronnies? And Ronnie Corbett, the two beautiful men, wonderful men, just wonderful comedians, Ronnie Corbett still is, because I think he's still alive. And Ronnie Barker still is, wherever he is, but I mean, it was just a joy to watch their show. But Ronnie Corbett used to have a wee monologue. He used to sit in a chair and start to tell a joke. And then he went away off in different directions. And at the end, he would always come back and say, oh, and by the way, the joke is, and he would tell the joke. Well, I'm a bit like that. I'm not as funny as Ronnie Corbett, nor indeed Ronnie Barker, or indeed anyone. But I start off by saying, well, we're going to look at Mark's Gospel. And then I end up talking about beards and long hair and shouting in the old kirk. Nothing to do with Mark's Gospel. But that's what I was going to say. I remember what I was going to say now. So most of my broadcasts last 20 minutes. And some, especially the ones that I filmed at the old kirk, last about 5 or 6 minutes. Now, I don't know if you prefer the 5 or 6 minutes broadcast, but then I'm thinking, if you get the 20 minutes broadcasting, what are you doing during the day? If you haven't killed one another or kicked the cat, do not kick cats. I'm not encouraging that at all. Don't kick any pet. I'm an animal lover. But if you're at a loose end, even if I'm on for 20 minutes, you can pause me. But sometimes if you pause me and then go forward a wee bit, fast forward, you might miss the best bits. Anyway, I've said anyway. I'm not going to say that's it. I'm only going to say it anyway 3 times during the broadcast, so I've said it once, I think. Today, we're looking at Mark's Gospel, and again, just a few verses, and I'm going to read these few verses to you. So we're still in chapter 1. But I think we're at 35. Are we at 35? No, we're not. We're at 32. I'm running ahead of myself. Verse 32, chapter 1 and verse 32. And I'm only going to read to verse 34. So this is the reading, and I'll just read it in its entirety. And then you can make a cup of tea. You put me on pause, make a cup of tea and come back. After the sun had set and evening had come, people brought to Jesus all the sick and those who had demons. All the people of the town gathered in front of the house. Jesus healed many who were sick with all kinds of diseases and drove out many demons. He would not let the demons say anything because they knew who he was. I'm going to make a cup of tea. I'll be back in a minute. Hello and welcome back. I hope you enjoyed your tea break. I did. I had a cup of tea and 2 custard creams. I've got 2 custard creams left to do me until May. But I've hidden them, so I should be okay. I'll break them up in 2, so that will be 4 bits. I've hidden 4 bits. Well, I haven't hidden 4 bits, I've only hidden the 2 complete bits. But when I get one tomorrow, I'll break it in 2, and I'll only eat half. Desperate measures. It's come to that. I was going to say, so, anyway, but I'm not. I'm not going to say those words. I'm going to say instead, Mark's Gospel. The few verses that I just shared with you before our tea break was about healings, more healings. So up to this stage, I'm going to move in my chair. There we go. Up to this bit, remember we're starting from the beginning, as if we don't know anything about Mark's Gospel, or how it's going to unfold. But we've discovered at this stage that Jesus is a healer. That is the fundamental centre point of his ministry up to this bit. So we know that he has healed on at least 2 occasions, the man in the synagogue, And then he had left the synagogue and had gone to the home of Peter, where Peter's mother-in-law was in bed with a fever, and he heals. We heard the other day that Jesus healed her. Now, his reputation by this time has gone viral, and people in Capernaum want to go and visit this guy. They want to go and find out what he is all about. So they flock to Peter's house, because Jesus is still there in Peter's house, and they go after the Sabbath has ended. Now, the Sabbath, this is just a wee bit of extra information. You won't find this in the Bible, but I'm very knowledgeable, so I can share this with you, but also very modest. Don't forget the modesty. Modesty, like basics, is my middle name. I have two middle names. Douglas, Modesty, Basics, Stevenson. That's my name. There were no clocks nor watches back in the day. But the Sabbath, there was a rough idea when it was 6 p.m. You just kind of, you know that, you know when it's tea time, if you have your dinner at 6 p.m, you kind of, maybe your tummy gurgles or something, and then you kind of think, it must be about tea time. So the Sabbath, when it was the Sabbath, lasted from 6 p.m. to 6 p.m. and no work was expected to be done during the Sabbath hours. Now, the Sabbath came to an end when you could see 3 stars in the sky. That was a cue, that was a sign. Sabbath is over, we can get out and about. So the people in Capernaum waited until evening and waited until the Sabbath had ended, so there would have been at least 3 stars in the night sky. And they flocked to this house, to Peter's house, to meet with this man Jesus. Oh, I meant to say about the Sabbath, there's a good quotation in the Old Testament. Remember the Old Testament? I've done it again, I keep doing it, but this time my glasses were falling off my face. A good quotation in the Old Testament that you can check regarding the Sabbath. There it is, up there, put it up there. Jeremiah 17:24. So you could put me on pause and then go and pick up your Bible and check that verse. Good, and then come back. So the people flocked, went to Peter's house to meet Jesus. But here is the thing. I am aware that they probably went there to get something from him, not always positive. They wanted to get things from Jesus. This man with the reputation that he's beginning to gather. They wanted to get something from Jesus because they wanted something for themselves. Now that is very typical. And I do it too. People who tend to say pray, for example, will tend to pray to God when times are bad, when times are tough, like this pandemic. But when things are good and jolly and there's something decent on the telly and you've just had your 6 p.m. dinner and you're quite content and you poured a wee libation, whatever that might be, there isn't really such a pressure to pray, is there? Because you're quite happy, you're quite content. So I'm thinking at this time that as people went to Peter's house to meet with this man Jesus, they went to find out, A, out of curiosity, they wanted to find out more about this man, but B, if this is the Messiah, and I don't think they thought he was at that time, but that's just my take on it, but if he is the Messiah, what can this man do for me? It's me. And that's what John the Baptist, remember John the Baptist from way back, that's what John the Baptist was preaching in the desert. He said, it's not about you. It's about all of you looking out for everybody else. So get rid of the selfishness. We live in interesting times, of course, because here is another parallel. There are selfish people today who are buying up the toilet rolls and the custard creams. But there are lots of people, and this is coming to the fore. There are many, many people who are selfless, who are doing things for their community and to help their neighbour, and just going that extra mile. And so we're living in difficult times, but we're living actually in wonderful times as well. You know, and it would be so nice that once this pandemic is over, that we can retain something of that community spirit, that idea of looking out for one another, just making sure that everybody is okay, without retreating back into the me-ness. So that's a sermon. Yeah, that's today's sermon. But I'm going to leave you with those verses. Jesus' ministry is a healing ministry. He has healed 2 people, one publicly in the synagogue, one privately in a house. But that's enough for folks in that town, Capernaum, to find out more about this man, Jesus the healer. So, continue to keep safe. Look out for yourself and your neighbour if you can, at a distance. Social distancing. Look out your window. Holler out the window. Are you okay? And if you get the thumbs up, hopefully they are okay. But I will be back tomorrow with some more profound words. Until then.